Hey there everyone. Today we're going to take another step towards becoming a Mac power user. Let's get started. Hey there guys. This week we're going to continue in our series of becoming a power user. Now, in this context, today we're going to be discussing macOS. The last week we touched on Windows, but for today we're going to continue with our journey in becoming a macOS power user. Now, one of the key differences between macOS and Windows that you'll find is that macOS actually focuses on using one of the things that Windows users usually like to stray away from. The key difference being that with Windows and Linux, you usually find that the more you use a keyboard, the faster you can navigate. However, macOS, and specifically Apple, aims to make touch gestures or hand gestures the common way to navigate a computer. And this is why the trackpads on Mac systems or just any Apple systems are actually known as the best around. And the reason being, Apple really wants to continue with this form of navigation. So today we're primarily going to touch on what we can do with the trackpad in macOS, what it can do for us in terms of navigation, tooling, and I'll throw a couple of shortcuts in there as well. Considering most of our gestures and or commands are going to be based around trackpad, today's episode is actually going to be a little short, just because, as Apple advertises itself, ease of use really is something that's focused on a lot. And they really are telling the truth when they talk about that. When you have something with such a good ecosystem, everything is going to be super easy to jump right into. So, to begin, let's go ahead and just look at our hands. This is going to help because we're going to be primarily using these series of fingers right here. Our pointer, our middle, and our index finger, our ring finger. And with these, we'll be able to navigate most of the things that are in macOS. And to start, the one that I use most common, and is actually the alternative to Alt-Tab in Windows, is the three-finger swipe. With these three fingers, I can swipe in a direction and have a program that I have full screen and opened show up on my screen. So to start off on my desktop, I'll go ahead and swipe in the direction. Now keep in mind, I actually have mine inverted because I'm traditionally a Windows user. However, you'll find that when you swipe, you'll swipe in the direction that you want. So to continue, you'll see that I transitioned from my desktop to a Chrome tab. Now, let's say we have multiple Chrome tabs open. Do the exact same thing. With a simple three-finger swipe, like so, we can transition through different windows in our program. Continuing with the three-finger trend, what we'll do is actually take our three fingers and swipe up. This will give us a view where we can actually see the windows that we have available and click between them instead of having to swipe through a bunch of windows if we say have more than 5 programs open. Now here you'll also notice that there's an extra plus sign over here on the right. If you watched the last video, you saw that with Windows we can create a second virtual desktop that in theory isn't running the programs that are running on your current desktop. This is really useful for organizing content that might be related to work, and then you can have another desktop that's related to your personal life, just to keep things separate and organized. So just to show you guys real quick, I'll go ahead and tap, but I have no real use for the second desktop, so I'm just going to cancel it from here. So with that, we have covered most of our three-finger gestures, but I'm actually going to add a thumb into the equation to show you how to get to desktop from wherever you are with ease. So what we're going to do is do this claw hand motion pushing out on our trackpad. With this, we should be sent right to the desktop. Now, alongside this, we can actually use the same gesture to show us a quick way to the launch pad in macOS. So with a pinch in, we can go ahead and see every program we have installed on our operating system. So now with our final gesture, before we move on to shortcut keys, it's a simple 2-finger command. From the rightmost side of our trackpad, what we'll do is actually, with these 2 fingers, pull to the left. For some of you, it may be the right. With this, we'll find that we have this little window that allows us to just quick access some features within the operating system. Here we'll find calendars, stocks, whatever things you actually want to customize to place into your notification center. With this, you can have quick access to whatever you'd really like, and there's programs out there that allow you to modify what you have in your notification center. So with that, we've covered most of the useful and most common track gestures that you'll use in macOS. Alongside this, it's also important to use some of the keys in order to navigate as well. For example, one of the most important shortcuts you could use within macOS is Command Spacebar. With this, you have an immediate access to the Spotlight search, no matter what program you're in. It will overlay right above and allow you to open up any other program. So, with that, you can find that with the simple trackpad navigation between windows, and with searching, you really never have to leave the keyboard or the general vicinity of your keyboard area on a MacBook or macOS, which is really, really nice. Now, to end off the video, I'm going to go ahead and cover 2 final shortcut keys that are really close to each other, both figuratively and literally. So, with this command of Command and Shift, along with a mix of 2 certain numbers, we'll be able to do screen captures of our macOS screens. So the first one I'll show you is the shortcut key for the entire screen. So depending on if you have multiple monitors or not, this shortcut will capture the screen that you are currently using. So with Command Shift 3, we take a screenshot of the entire desktop view. This applies to any window we're looking at, and in terms of a lot of technologies, maybe you'll find that Netflix might block you from screen capturing in certain scenarios, but for the most part, you'll find that you can use this everywhere in almost every instance. Past this, if we want to only capture a certain area, what we can do is choose the brother command or sister command to Command Shift 3, which is Command Shift 4. With this, we can get this little cursor to select an area that we want to screenshot. And like that, we have a pre-cut screenshot, which is super easy to use. Now, with this, I've gone over some of the basic things in macOS when it comes to navigating and just using tools. So with this, hopefully this will push you in terms of your speed, in terms of just ease of use when it comes to using computers. Next week, we'll continue on Windows and discover some of the tools that we can use within the system that can make our lives a lot easier. Until then, have a nice week.